family friends, and where one of her sons does DJ is at the skating rink.
Right, now that we just want to recap, we are SoMeridian. Started our meeting at a little bit 12:05-ish. From Justin, who gave us some invisible.
Sound just disappeared entirely.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's all we got then.
all right, yay. Our next role, I believe Will said his, the next role will be the role of the general evaluator, and that is Donald Thomas today. Donald, can you share what the general evaluator's role is?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, as general evaluator, the purpose is to evaluate everything that takes place throughout the meeting. During the meeting, I would take notes on everything that happens and doesn't happen. I would evaluate each participant on the meeting program and look for good examples of preparation, organization, delivery, enthusiasm, observation, and performance of duty. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report. Back to you.
Thank you. Our next role will be the role of the timer, and Justin Bell-Seaver.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. My role as a timer is to keep track of how much time it takes you to do your speech or your table topics. The table topics will be 1 to 2 minutes. Right? Yes. At 1 minute, I'll raise the green card indicating you've met the minimum time. Minute 30 seconds, I'll raise the yellow card indicating you're close. And at 2 minutes, I'll raise the red card indicating you have met the timeline. The other speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, I believe, today. At 5 minutes, I'll raise the green card. 6 minutes, I'll raise the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, I'll raise the yellow card or red card indicating you have met the time limit. And then the evaluation should be between 2 and 3 minutes. 2 minutes, I'll raise the green card. 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll raise the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I'll raise the red card indicating you have met the time.
Thank you. For our final role will be the role of the Augmenarian, and today that is
Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, probably in Zoomland. The role of the Augmenarian is to listen, take down good word usages, and also word that distracts and pauses such as and or duplicates, run-ons. And I will report that at the end of the meeting when I'm called out by the general evaluator. The word of the day as well is I will produce that, which is called Willie, W-H-E-L-I-E, Willie, and it's a manure on a bicycle or motorbike in which the front wheel is raised off the ground. And it's called a wheelie. So doing a wheelie is doing, yes, having your front tires up on something. And that is the word of the day. If you use that in a sentence, I will note that down and turn it out and give you a cheer at the end. Back to you.
thank you. I love Cotton Willies. Our first speech will be introduced by Will, and our speaker today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today I will be evaluating Brandi-Era Miller, who will be giving us a speech on her Mason bees titled Marvelous Mason Bees. Brandi, come on up. Come on up.
Thank you so much. Hopefully it's not too distracting to have this. Well, you know what? I don't even think I need this here. I think I can just go with what we've got up there on the screen. Well, thank you so much, Will. Everybody here is a member, So thank you for coming today for my speech. This is my fourth speech on mason bees. Really, really excited to talk about that today. Before I get started, I want to ask you all a little bit about bees. How many different species of bees do you think we have in Washington State? 5 species? Anybody else?
Way more than.
250?
Over 100,
Over
over
100?
100.
Okay.
I'm gonna do 151 person.
One, oh, right. Will would be correct,
Oh, what?
and that,
Exactly.
I'm gonna get my,
I got it exactly
I'm
right.
gonna get it to
You
me. All right, so there are over 600 species of native bees in Washington State. I'm gonna be talking about the mason bee, which is my first foray into our native bees. So we've got bumblebees, we've got leafcutter bees, mason bees, sweat bees, masked bees, and miter bees. Those are a few of sort of the big categories. And some species can fall into more than one category. But some of the other categories of different bees that I've found in my research are fairy bees, carpenter bees, longhorn bees, watch bees, digger bees, cluster bees, oil bees, and last but not least, the one that everybody knows, and that's honeybees. Now, the interesting thing about honeybees is they are the only bee in our state that produces honey, and they are not a native bee. The rest of our bees don't produce them. They might be hive bees. Some of them are hive bees, most of them are solitary, but none of them produce honey. And that is why the honeybee is so well known. So this is a picture of my house with my old siding. I have cedar shingles on there. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this is how my passion for mason bees began. It was a slow burn. My passion for mason bees, that is. It didn't happen overnight. We bought our house in 2007. And the first summer we were in our house, I noticed these beautiful metallic insects flying up underneath the cedar shingles. And I don't know, they look like bees, but they're not yellow and black striped. They're metallic blue. And so I started to do a little bit of research, and they were in fact insects. So I started to be really interested in them. I liked that they went up and they had little nests in our shingles. Didn't think about it much for many, many years until it came time to resite our house. And I knew it was coming, and it was really like, oh, I don't want to mess with their habitat and that type of thing. But I did start to get to notice them. What was interesting is when we pulled the shingles off underneath, this is what we saw. Now this was June, July. So the mason bees had already laid most of their eggs. So what you're looking at in this picture is the reason why these bees are called mason bees. You can see that they take mud and they build these little mason cells. And then within each cell is a pollen pack. And within each pollen pack is an egg. And so this was all over my house, and you know, I felt terrible. So I had to learn more and more about these bees and find out if I could indeed do something to help their habitat. And I did. But first, let's talk a little bit about mason bees. So mason bees are solitary bees, which means every female is her own queen. They are early season pollinators. They're one of the earliest bees that you'll see. And so they are responsible for a lot of our fruit that in our neighborhoods are, especially our stone fruits, like our, what would be a good stone fruit? Like cherry, apricot, those types of fruits that have a stone in the middle because they are some of the earliest bloomers. Now they're power pollinators. And this is what I really think is fascinating about them. They're 20 times more effective at pollinating honeybees. What makes them so powerful is they have all these hairs on their body. And so when they go into the flower to get the pollen, they're not like taking little bits of pollen and packing them on their legs the way that bumblebees do. Because if you ever see bumblebees, you see they have these like packs of pollen. these guys in fact get it all over their bodies, so they're just in there with their hair and they're really messy. And they just, and they just go from flower to flower, and they just get pollen everywhere. One of the funniest things that happened this summer was I was outside talking to a neighbor about my bees, bees. A bee comes and lands on my shirt. I didn't realize it, and I just kind of went to swat it away, and then I realized it was a bee, and so I was like, so I didn't swat it real hard, but I pushed it into my shirt, and there was this little pollen imprint of the bee, like, like with its body and its legs. It was so cute. And I was like, oh, but it flew off. So I was like, oh. But the other thing about them is they're so gentle. Even though the females have stingers, the males don't. They have no interest in stinging. I get right up there next to them when they're doing their stuff, and they don't care. They just kind of fly over me. They don't care. This is my scoop. This is my setup at home. I've got 3 houses this year, and they are, as of this time, 95% full. And all of my adults have died for the season, cycle of life. But now I have all these babies, and I got to take care of them. The wire that you see over the front is to keep the birds from pecking at them, like woodpeckers and other birds. Just a little bit about the life cycle. They come out of the cocoons in the spring. They mate. You can see here in this picture, the females are much bigger. You have some romantic time with the bees. And then they lay their babies. And I have a couple more stories, and then I'm going to wrap this up just to get you more excited about bees. So one of the cute things that happens is at night, all the females will go back into their cells where they're making their little mess. And they go in head first, so their little butts are sticking out. And I shine the flashlight in the holes, and I can see all their little bottoms, and it's so cute. Oh my gosh, every night. And I'm like counting them all. And then what's happening here is it's morning time. They don't fly until it's about 50 degrees. So they're just waiting for the sun to warm them up, and they kind of inch out a little bit at a time until they get just warm enough. And then they fly away and they get their busy day started. And then in the fall, it's time to harvest. This is a picture of me harvesting them. And it's a fun process. The cocoons that they make, that the adults are in after they have matured, are waterproof. So you can wash them, clean them, you store them, stick them in the refrigerator. For winter, they're hibernating. They're adults. They're just hibernating all winter. Stick them out in the spring, and the cycle starts again. And with that, I'm going to end right there because I'm running over time. But if you want more information, crownbees.com is a great website. And then also the Native Bee Society for Washington State has a lot of great information on bees. And I would just encourage you to start looking around at the over 600 species of bees and really start to appreciate what they're doing. And if you want to get involved, you can ask me. Raising mason bees is really easy, really fun. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to our Toastmaster today.
I think you earn more time because of the technology. Good job. I love hearing about the bees. Did not know. Over 600. Incredible. Our next speaker will be introduced by Eric. Eric is introducing our next speaker.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to introduce Robin. I've watched her speak for quite a while now, and it's always entertaining and informational. Because I was a little late to the role, I didn't actually get details on the title of her speech, but she'll surprise us with something awesome, I know. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Robin.
Good afternoon, Meridian Toastmasters. This is a last-minute speech because I am in an event put on by the Evolutionary Business and EBC, Evolutionary Business Council. And it's an organization for people who want to make a difference in the world. So our speaker this morning was Cindy Kittery Ashton, and she spoke on speaking from your power. So I thought I would share these 5 tips that she had, or they're 5 things you can do before you speak to help you speak from your power. And so I don't know if any of you got to hear my my talk that I did where lady whose name I am now forgetting, she talked about how you can ground yourself in your hips. And when you do that, instead of speaking from your head, you're speaking from your power center. And so some of that is in these getting to these tips will help you to speak from that core instead of being in your head, and you have much more presence. And so the these five tips are starting out shaking out the tension. And so she actually shared some really valuable information about how when you are stressed, then that can come out in your voice. And if you have kind of a high or raspy voice, there's actually different emotional stuff that winds up coming through how your voice is. And as a, because I'm always interested in clearing out emotional baggage, that was really interesting to me. And so part of these things are going to help you relax so that you can be more confident in your body while you speak. So the first one is to shake out tension. And then you swing your arms for the second one. And then she did something called cactus arms. And so you're like kind of up like this, but on with your feet, you're actually you're kind of going up on your toes and then dropping down, going up on your toes and dropping down. And then one of the things that you can do, hang on a second, I gotta clear something. So I am not sure, to tell you the truth, how the combination of the cactus arms and this going up on your toes and then dropping down, how that goes together. but it's one of the 5 that she actually dropped down in the chat. And then breathe into your pelvic floor. And one of the things that she said, if you are not used to, she had us put our one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And when you breathe in, see which one goes up. So if you're always breathing in the belly, then you're doing good. If your chest goes up more often, then one of the ways that you can get yourself, kind of force yourself into belly breathing, is if you were to stand up with your legs, your feet shoulder width apart, but then go pigeon-toed, and then bend in your knees. And it's kind of a weird thing, but I found that I wound up doing 100% belly breathing when I did this. So feet, shoulder width apart, pigeon toe your toes together, and then bend your knees, and you will find that you can get into belly breathing easier. And so when you do that, then of course you're not going to necessarily go into your speaking when you're doing that, but it'll get you to practice being able to do belly breathing and breathe into your pelvic floor. And then the next one is to stretch your face. And so that looks a little weird. It's like you go, ah, and then you tighten into, so you're doing big and little in alternating. So you're going, ah, and then ah, ah, and then so actually, hang on a second. Maybe these are my notes. So the next thing is that she had us do M's and Z's. And when you're these particular M's, Z's, and V's, those consonants will get your resonance in your voice. And so and then it was like, Z. So as you're doing that, it's kind of like warming up and relaxing all your muscles so that when you speak, then you're going to be able to be more resonant and in your body. And so those are, shake out the tension, cactus arms, practice breathing into your pelvic floor, stretch your face, and ma, za, and ba. With that, I will hand it back to the Toastmaster. Play with these tools and see if it increases your ability to speak powerfully.
Robin, now I'm waiting for the V, how to resonate the V. Thank you. I always learn something from what you are speaking about. Now we will move to our evaluators of the speeches. Our first evaluator who will be evaluating Robin's, Brandi-Era Miller's speech is welcome.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Great job, Brandi. You talked a little bit after meetings about me, so I knew a little bit. I mean, it was still really interesting time. Though I was still way off on how many beats there are in Washington State. So I'm gonna attempt to use the good, better, best, wheelie my way around it. All right, so starting with good, you had a good use of hand movement, especially for something like this. You weren't over the top, but you kept it close and conservative, I guess I would say, but while still being animated there near the end. Also, good use of vocal tone. You were good at staying calm, but getting excited for the main parts of the speech. We could definitely feel your excitement and how much you love the Mason bee. So better, it was all really computer stuff. I know we just kind of getting figuring it out. So for figuring that out, I would just say mainly just if you can kind of practice it a little beforehand. And then I guess stylistically, maybe choose a different font. It's not bad at all. It's just, it was things to consider. You did go a little bit long, but I was very interested and I'm not the timer, so I was all for it. And then finally going for best, you were just very engaging. It was, I'd say, the perfect tone for a presentation like this. You were very clear and it was conversational, so it wasn't, we could tell you enjoyed the topic and you just naturally exuded that, so it was a lot more engaging and an enjoyable speech. And yeah, it felt natural. That's all. No.
6 more seconds.
6 more seconds. I'll do Robin. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. We love that evaluation. Our next evaluator for Robin's speech will be Eric Mull. Welcome, Eric.
Toastmasters. Fellow Toastmasters, it is always a pleasure to evaluate Robin. Robin is a master speaker, and I think what's most impressive about what she did today was telling us this was pretty much an impromptu speech she made up on the fly just before she gave the speech. So to be able to do that is really a sign of somebody who has mastery of techniques and the ability to speak. So again, always impressed with that. What she did in the beginning, I thought was really impressive too. And as I try to improve myself as a public speaker, I really try to incorporate stories into what I'm going to start doing, especially if it's kind of a list, the way Robin had her speech set up. And she told the story. She was at a conference. She talked about the person who taught her this new technique or these new techniques, and she made it pleasant. The other thing that Robin did today that I thought was particularly good was she seemed very relaxed. she was smiling. Sometimes she can be a little bit formulaic, which isn't a bad thing, especially if you're gonna give a speech based on a list. But in her case, she just smiled, she seemed really happy. It made me think that the presentation she went to must have been awesome. So that kind of shone through and it made me feel really good about it. In terms of what could have been a little bit better, I found that she stopped and looked at her notes a couple of times on the computer. I think you probably could have skipped doing that, Robin, because we don't know exactly what you were told or taught. So I think you could have kept going, but it wasn't really too distracting. And again, in fairness, this was an impromptu speech that you just thought of a couple of minutes before we started. So I think that was really fair and powerful and worked well. And then last but not least, in terms of best, I think this was one of the best examples that I've seen with you speak in terms of using your body language. And I know we're supposed to use our hands a little bit. Sometimes we're supposed to walk around a little bit, but you took it many steps further. You actually stood up and stretched, which was pretty good. I've never seen anybody do that before. And you used your mouth and your voice to really get the message across. And one of the things that I've taken away from Meridian over the last year plus that I've been involved here is some of the techniques that you can use to help you kind of relax and become a better speaker. And I actually have some notes that I have at home of some of the things that you've mentioned in the past, and I'm going to add these notes to it. So great job, and thanks for sharing all those techniques.
Great evaluation, another great evaluation. That's one thing you did, Robin, where you moved, the sound went down. I'm not exactly sure if it was on your side when you did different hand. Because I know if you raise your hand, sometimes it will raise your hand. So it's maybe something, just a side note, the sound went down here. It was just for a short period. All right, our next portion of the meeting has to do with the evaluation, general evaluation, and I want to back it up, you Willie.
Nice.
Next is table topics. That will be Will.
All right. So I don't know how much. I can plug it up here. So I don't know how much time we have to go through this, so I will just go ahead and get started. Would anybody like to volunteer? All right, Eric.
Okay. Okay. What fashion trend you followed was very cool then, that now looks ridiculous? Well, there was a song in the 80s by Adam Ant, and he said in the song, "Don't follow fashion, that would be a joke." And I never was really fashionable or tried to follow fashion, especially growing up in New York City. I remember in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, there was always something going on where people had their hair long and kind of out to here, and then it started to get shorter. Men would start to wear mullets, where they would have short hair in the front and then long hair in the back. And then everything seemed to go really short in the early 2000s. And I pretty much, I think, look the way I did many years ago. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I love Levi's jeans, for example, and I pretty much wear the same style of Levi's jeans. Never skinny jeans, never bell-bottomed or like super loose jeans. And I feel like it makes me comfortable. So I think the key takeaway is do something that makes you comfortable. And if you feel like you look okay, then you probably exude confidence. Thank you.
All right, one more. All right, anybody want Justin?
You trade places for 1 month. 1 month. That's a good question. Probably somebody wealthy. Reminds me, we went to a meeting couple, last April, and there was this giant yacht there, a great big one. And it was used to be owned by Paul Allen, Microsoft. And that thing was so nice, it was giant, I looked it up, I was like, that's gotta be a wealthy yacht, somebody rich owns that. I looked it up, it used to belong to Paul Allen, and now some Swedish medical group owns it. They do medical system for Sweden. They own this giant yacht, apparently it has 3 helicopter pads that you can land on it. I think it's called the Octopus, it's called the Octopus. And then it has some octopus in the thing. There's, look it up, it's an amazing yacht. They're very generous with it, they loan it out to researchers, they go out and allow people to go out and deep into the ocean with it. And they do some exploring, deep sea exploring and stuff, but it has a little side port where you can load your jet skis and whatnot. So right now, that's on my list. I would like to go out on that. That'd be so cool to take that out somewhere and just live on that thing for a while. That's what I'd like to do right now.
Thank you, Justin.
All right, I will hand it back over to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Now I will hand it over to our general evaluator, Don.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. All right, guys. So obviously, the beginning of the meeting started off a little rocky, right? But we always figure it out, right? So that was good. So obviously, if we had a guest here, it would probably be upsetting for a guest. So keep that in mind for future meetings too as well. I guess I should have went to I should have called my reports first. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. So
Go ahead.
again, I'm good. I can. All right, perfect. All right, so continue on with the evaluation portion of this. Toastmaster, you did a good job puppet mastering the whole situation with everything that was going on. So I'm going to move it over to our reports. So we're going to start with the timer. Jesse, would you like to come up for a timer?
Yes, all right. All right, my report today, first I'd like to say, like to go wheelie on my way home, but I probably won't because my rent's in tank. It's just a pretty big heavy bike, it's a help. Just want to get rid of the day. So for today, I would like to tell my for the timer, or is what I'm doing right. I lost my train of thought. I'm back on track. I'm back on the train. I'm not doing anything. Brandee, your speech was 7 minutes and you did it in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Robin, your speech was 5 to 7 minutes and you did it in 6 minutes and 16 seconds. Will, your evaluation was right at 2 minutes. You squeezed it out. You stalled a little bit. That was good. Eric, your evaluation was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Eric, your table topics was 1 minute and 7 seconds. My table topic was 1 minute and 11 seconds. Don, your evaluation was 43 seconds.
Thank you for that final report. So I'm next going to bring up the.
General evaluator. My report, going down the list of names I've written down, I'll start off with Brandee. Actually, let me back here. Because people like to do that, apparently, in this meeting. Move backward, I don't know what that means. I'll start with Kathy, because she was up top. You have 2 words of the day. I only caught excuse me when you were trying to change subject. That's it. That was the only thing I caught for usage. I like when you're trying to pronounce and back it up. Now moving on to Brandee. Word that distracted. So once I'm gonna be oops. Lots of good word phrase usages. Shine the light at the little boy. Power pollinator, blah blah blah. That was I like that. It was apt out romantic times, passion, slow burn, with cycle of life, will, or, bad word usage. Come on up, I think you studied that twice, 5 times, once, so twice. You said the, kind of was prolonging that to try to do some time. And then, and all, and left it there as well, trying to make some time. 3 times, it's twice, just continuous. Conservative, animated style, stylistic, perfect tone, exuded. Robin, I have evolution, I think mispronunciation a couple of times, ABC, trying to give us an acronym. 5 times, 9 times, once, like once, from, repeating twice, and then repeating twice, so you know. Good word usage is shaking at the tension, on your toes, belly breathing, stretch your face, spoken from your power. And then your oh, facial expression, classic, pelvic floor. Justin only got sold twice, once, word of the day 3 times. Well, that wasn't the end there. A wealthy person, my bike is a 10, back on track, squeezed it out. Eric, the only guy was, and I pretty much, I think, didn't run well. That's all. Everything else, like texting and further ado, master speaker and master speech formulaic is a word. I wasn't really fashionable. I don't know if that's true. Exude confidence. Dawn, so 3 times, 3 times. And little Rocky, puppet mastery. And that's my report. Back to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Jim. All right, so it was a good meeting. I'm gonna pass this now over to the.
Before you do that, can
Yes.
you evaluate the evaluators?
So the evaluators, all right,
You
so
get more time then.
I get a little bit more time.
Not the 40%.
The first evaluator was Will. Will, you did a great job. Overall, you did a great job. I don't have any notes. I didn't know I was going to do this part, but next time I will, okay? But good job. And keep coming up, and we started to notice that, and I see the confidence every time you come up. So keep doing a good job on that. The second evaluator was Eric. Eric, he was fantastic. He was talking about mastery speaker. You are a mastery speaker too as well. So good job coming up and evaluating on the fly. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to the president to.
All right, next item on the agenda, sign up for roles. Anybody want to sign up for role? Close it out. Why don't we? Brandee.
I can evaluate a speech again.
Okay.
I'll do SoMeridian.
Master Don, you ready for that yet?
Yeah, I'll be talking much.
Okay, perfect. You join us again, Eric?
I would love to. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but I will try to commit to coming by a little bit more often, more than every 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And it was so nice to see everybody, by the way.
Hey,
Like
thanks for
smiling faces. And this is such a warm, kind of cozy, happy little club. And yeah, you guys do a great job.
We always like having you too. Input is always nice.
Oh, thank you.
I always like to hear everybody's point of view. Everybody has different, we're all different, right? So
Sure.
we see things different. So it really helps us define it. Even the people that notice the font as well. It's not stuff I really think about, but somebody has an eye for the font. That's good.
Yep.
So, okay. Yeah, this is a good meeting. Thanks, everybody. Feel like we did what we normally do. We pulled it together. I was fixing that thing last minute, trying to get it working and recording, and Kathy did a great job of just making it happen. That's a distraction, so we all pitched in for that and Kim helped out. Like I said, this is where we learn to do these things, and this is real life things that happen. Been many meetings, and this is exactly what happened. So this even gives comfort, not just speaking, but making the speaking. Then Kathy came out and helped you out.
Yes.
So we can all pull together and we make it work. I feel like that is life, right? That's what really happened. Everybody keep coming and helping each other out. Hopefully we see everybody next week. That's the meeting.
So I didn't really hear most of the end of that, but I'd also like to know, are we doing an officers meeting today at 8?
I think